Adrian was my slave for 3 years. I clung to him and I tortured him. Every day, I ordered him to play hide and seek with me. I'll count to 100. I'd say it with a sly grin. If you find me, I won't bother you ever again. Adrian was annoyed by me. He loathed me. But he never found me, not even once. Later, our positions reversed. Adrian became the one holding the purse strings. He dumped me on the side of a winding canyon road. His voice was cold. I'll count to 100. If you find me, I won't hate you anymore. The canyon road was too long. I was only halfway there when a car hit me, knocking me off the cliff. Lying in a pool of blood, I rasped out Adrian's name. From now on, I won't bother you anymore. You should be happy now. When I was kicked out of the car, I still didn't know what I'd done to make Adrian angry this time. Julian, Adrian ordered coldly, get out. Ever since we reunited, this was how Adrian spoke to me. Brief, cold. Bruking no argument. Julian, go to the bathroom and prep yourself. Julian, come here. Julian, hold it in. No crying. Julian, get on the floor and sleep. Julian, it was like a conditioned reflex. The moment I heard Adrian call my full name, I couldn't help but tense up, terrified. So I didn't dare ask why. I got out of the car obediently, forgetting to even grab my phone. The rear window rolled down halfway, revealing only Adrian's eyes. You like playing hide and seek, don't you? Adrian looked down at me, his deep eyes filled with disdain and mockery. I'll count to 100. If you find me, I won't hate you anymore. With that, the long wheelbase phantom glided away like a shark, disappearing from view in seconds. The canyon road was winding and endless. I stood foolishly by the roadside, like a dog abandoned by its master. A long time ago, the person saying those words was actually me. Back then, I was still the arrogant, spoiled young master. Adrian was the son of the housekeeper who lived with us. His mother was seriously ill. My dad, generous as he was, promised to pay all her medical bills. The condition was that Adrian had to keep me company as I grew up. But at 7 or 8 years old, even dependence looks like malice. If Adrian ignored me, I would kick his shins under the table with my toes, like reminding a puppy. Or when he got up to leave, I'd use brute force to yank the hem of his shirt. When Adrian turned back, I'd look at him triumphantly, eyes sparkling. I'll count to 100. If you find me, I won't bother you ever again. I'd tilt my head up at Adrian and say with innocent cruelty, if you dare not play with me, my dad won't pay for your mom's medicine. 12-year-old Adrian was a head taller than me, thin and upright. His eyes would fill with anger. His fists would clench. But he would endure it, again and again, whispering, fine. Then, resigned, he would close his eyes and count silently, waiting for me to hide. In the 15 years we were apart, every time I thought of his expression back then, I couldn't help but smile. But now I couldn't squeeze out a smile at all. I looked toward the vacation villa at the top of the mountain. I thought, being hated by Adrian seems like the most normal thing in the world. So, I started walking patiently up the mountain. I wanted to see Adrian and tell him I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to bully you back then. And ask him, if you aren't angry anymore, can you be a little gentler in the future? The sky was getting dark. I unconsciously quickened my pace. But having been tossed around by Adrian for several nights in a row, my legs were weak and my back ached. I ended up walking slower and slower. There wasn't much traffic. Occasionally, 2 or 3 cars would pass, but none stopped to offer a ride. When the sky turned completely black, a red supercar came speeding from the distance. I turned around. Before I could even wave, I saw the supercar slow down as it approached. The street lights were dim. The glow from the dashboard illuminated the driver's face. It was a girl with exquisite makeup, and she looked inexplicably familiar. While I was thinking, the red supercar suddenly accelerated and charged straight at me. The impact happened in a split second. There wasn't really any pain. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself lying at the bottom of the cliff. The streetlights on the canyon road seemed very high up, their light not reaching me at all. My back felt wet and warm. Couldn't move nor could I make a sound. I only vaguely remembered the last thing Adrian said to me. If you find me, I won't hate you anymore. I don't want you to hate me anymore. But I don't think I can find you now. It's okay, though. I closed my eyes and counted silently, just like when I was little. 1, 2, 3. I counted very, very slowly. That way, when Adrian finally found me, I could tell him, "You win." I could say, "I won't bother you ever again." My eyes burned. I managed a strained smile, laughing at my own wishful thinking. Adrian hated me so much. Why would he come looking for me? As I thought this, I felt my body becoming lighter. Soon, I drifted to the end of the canyon road. The party had already started. The vacation villa was blazing with lights. Inside the massive floor-to-ceiling windows, the crystal chandelier looked like a glittering waterfall. I passed through the door. Through a galaxy of halos, I saw Adrian, surrounded by people like the moon amidst the stars. He was sitting in a booth behind the lights, surrounded by a crowd of wealthy heirs. I floated to Adrian's ear. Prankishly, I shouted, "I found you." But Adrian didn't turn his head to look at me like before. He didn't show an angry expression either. He couldn't hear me and he couldn't see me. "I heard good news is coming for Mr. Vance. Are you marrying the sterling heiress?" A short, stout man squeezed in, emboldened enough to try and network. Adrian didn't even lift his eyelids. He didn't agree, but he didn't deny it either. I looked at his cold profile. I suddenly remembered before I was kicked out of the car, the driver had also happened to mention the marriage alliance. "Mr. Vance, is it really okay not to pick up Miss Sterling?" The driver had asked worriedly. "Your father specifically instructed that since Miss Sterling will be marrying into the family, we should be attentive. If we don't pick her up, won't your father blame us?" Adrian looked out the window and said indifferently, "It's fine. Are you getting married?" I had asked in a small voice, sitting far away from him in the back seat. Adrian glanced at me and said coldly, "Why? Does it have anything to do with you?" "No." I lowered my head and murmured, "I just wanted to say, congratulations." I didn't expect Adrian's face to darken instantly. He kicked me out of the car right then and there. Maybe I wasn't qualified to offer congratulations. So now, when someone else brought it up, Adrian didn't look like he was going to get angry at all. The atmosphere was slightly awkward. A man next to him broke the silence, saying mysteriously, "Could it be that Mr. Vance has someone else in his heart?" The man was obviously drunk and speaking without a filter. "Someone saw Mr. Vance these past few days not with Victoria Sterling, but with a boy." The hall went noticeably quiet. Quiet enough that I could almost hear my own heartbeat. Adrian lifted his eyelids and glanced at the man. The man seemed to sober up instantly. He laughed. Awkwardly, "I'm sure that kind of trash was disposed of easily enough. Mr. Vance was surely just playing around. Right, Mr. Vance?" Adrian let out a sneer. He said carelessly, "Yeah, it was actually pretty fun. So it was just playing around. I shouldn't be sad. How can a ghost feel sad?" I backed away to a spot further off, telling myself this. Just consider this Adrian's revenge, too. Thinking like that made the pain in my chest lessen a bit. Then why didn't Mr. Vance bring him today? The man grinned, showing his teeth. "You weren't afraid he'd bump into Victoria Sterling, were you?" "I brought him. He's walking on the road." Adrian raised his lashes to look at him, speaking flatly, because he didn't know his place and spoke out of turn. So he needed a little punishment to learn a lesson. The man's smile froze on his face, and he went completely silent. "Because I asked about the marriage, you punished me by dumping me halfway? You could have just told me. You could have fiercely questioned me. What right do you have to ask? Or mocked me? If I don't get married, am I supposed to stay with you forever? Or something like that. But why did you have to dump me halfway and not tell me the reason?" The party began, and a pianist started playing live. Guests were clinking glasses. Only Adrian was listening. I watched his fingertips tapping lightly on the edge of his wine glass. I remembered that a long time ago I had punished Adrian too. Adrian was 4 years older than me, excellent in character and academics, but he was just too rigid. That year I pestered him, begging him to do my homework for me. He refused no matter what. It got me reported by the tutor, and my dad twisted my ear. So when Mom and Dad went on a business trip, I decided to punish him severely. "You," I said to Adrian, acting all high and mighty, "are not allowed to eat our food all day tomorrow." Adrian looked at me and said, "Okay." He didn't get angry, which made me feel bored. So I kept disturbing him while he read. One moment I made him play hide and seek. The next, I ordered him to wash fruit for me or get me milk. During dinner, I deliberately had the food brought to his room so he could watch me eat. Adrian was good at enduring. He just went hungry without saying a word. When night came, I awkwardly went to his room. I pushed all the snacks I had hidden in front of him. These things taste terrible, you can have them all. I frowned and added grumpily, you have to eat every bit of it. Thinking back now, I could never win against Adrian. I said I wanted to punish him, but in the end, I was afraid he'd be hungry, afraid he wouldn't talk to me. But Adrian was different. He said he wanted to punish me, and he really drove away. He never looked back. The piano piece ended. Adrian looked down at his watch. He cursed impatiently under his breath. What an idiot. Can't he even hail a car along the road? Before his voice faded, the doors to the banquet hall were suddenly pushed open. The man next to Adrian whispered excitedly, "Here he is, here he is. It must be the boy Mr. Vance brought." Under countless watching eyes, a person walked in from outside. That person was wearing a red dress and exquisite makeup. It's her? She's the driver of that red supercar. I stood stunned in place. I saw several female guests go up to greet her warmly. "Victoria, why are you so late? We've been waiting for you for ages." She was actually Victoria Sterling, Adrian's fiancée. But none of that mattered anymore. Right now, she was a murderer. Victoria ignored the women's greetings. She lifted her chin and scanned the room. She walked straight toward Adrian. She sat down next to him and wrapped her arms around his arm. Looking at Adrian with displeasure, she said, "Why didn't you come to pick me up?" Adrian pulled his arm out and replied, "Not on the way." Victoria glared at him coquettishly. She took a glass of wine from a waiter, raised the corners of her lips, and said, "Forget it. If you didn't pick me up, you didn't pick me up. It actually gave me the chance to take care of a little nuisance on the road." My whole body went cold. Sluggishly, I realized the little nuisance Victoria took care of was me. How dare she? After hitting someone with her car, she came to a party looking glamorous? Did she call the police or call an ambulance for me? I quickly floated outside the main gate. I didn't see the red supercar among the row of luxury cars. I wanted to go back to the bottom of the cliff to check, but my soul seemed imprisoned. I couldn't leave the villa. The piano performance ended. A female singer replaced it, singing classic jazz live. Guests invited each other in pairs onto the dance floor. Victoria looked at Adrian expectantly. "Aren't you going to ask me to dance?" "Sorry," Adrian said faintly. "Not in the mood." Victoria didn't get angry. "I know you don't like me right now. My dad said you're willing to marry me on the condition that I don't interfere in your life. A marriage in name only, just for the corporate benefits." Her eyes burned with confidence as she said, "But I believe you'll fall in love with me eventually. I've seen that Julian guy. He is quite good looking. But how can a man compare to a woman, Miss Sterling?" Adrian interrupted her, his face unhappy. "You are golden nobility. There is no need to compare yourself to someone so insignificant." Insignificant? I looked down at my semi-transparent body. I thought silently, I guess so. So trivial and small that I could be thrown onto the road, and no one would know if I died. As long as you think so too. Victoria seemed very satisfied with Adrian's answer. She leaned in close to Adrian, continuing intimately and mysteriously, "Actually, the trouble I just took care of has something to do with you, too. Do you want to know?" Adrian leaned back into the sofa, putting distance between them. He asked casually, "What is it?" "I won't tell you yet." Victoria blinked. "Anyway, you'll find out sooner or later." Adrian looked aloof and didn't press further. He just glanced at his watch again. The music changed. Several women walked over from the dance floor and sat on the nearby sofa. "I can't dance anymore. Shall we go?" They chatted. I heard from my driver that there was a car accident on the canyon road. The investigation vehicle is blocking the lane. It's going to be backed up for a while. Clink. A crisp sound. Victoria's wine glass suddenly tipped over, hitting the enamel coffee table. Red wine spread out in a large stain. Adrian frowned. He raised his hand to summon a waiter. Then he said to Victoria, "Excuse me." I glanced at Victoria's stunned face, then felt pulled to follow Adrian to the second-floor terrace. It turned out I wasn't unable to leave the villa. I was unable to leave Adrian's side. The lights on the terrace weren't on. Adrian stood in the dark, taking out his phone. With a light tap, the dialing screen showed my number. I stood behind him. I said soundlessly, "You don't need to call anymore. No one will answer. From now on, no one will ever answer." After a long busy signal, the call suddenly connected. "Julian, are you an idiot?" Before the other side could make a sound, Adrian shouted angrily, "Even if you have to crawl, you should have crawled here by now. What, do you want me to hate you forever that badly? Mr. Vance." The chauffeur's voice came through the phone. Mr. West left his phone in the car. Adrian was silent for a few seconds. The chauffeur said hesitantly, "Mr. Vance, maybe I should go back and pick Mr. West up? That road is pretty long, and Mr. West just recovered from his illness not long ago. We don't want him to collapse from exhaustion." Adrian scoffed coldly. "It's just walking. Can it kill him? Besides, he's been recovered for 3 months. So, it's already been 3 months since I saw Adrian again." I looked at Adrian's silhouette in the darkness. Once again, I remembered that night. It rained heavily that night. There were a lot of delivery orders. Yes, delivery. After my family was ruined, I relied on delivering food to scrape together money for my grandpa's medical treatment. The last order that night was at 2 a.m., delivering contraceptives to a high-end club. But because I tripped on the way, I was late. In the hallway of the club, a fat man wrapped in a bath towel flew into a rage. "What's the point of delivering it now?" He smashed the bag onto me, roaring. "The person already fucking left. Who am I supposed to screw? Your mother?" After speaking, he knocked my helmet off. Seeing my face, he suddenly laughed. Actually, this could work." With just a glance, 2 men in black at the door threw me into the room. A second before the door closed, Adrian appeared. In the back alley late at night. I bowed my head thanking him, gripping the helmet strap tight. "Adrian, is business better at 2 a.m.? I didn't hear the sarcasm and answered earnestly, "Fewer people grabbing orders, so I can do a few more." Then, Adrian smiled. The smile vanished in an instant. He said, "How much do you need?" We settled on a price quickly. So Grandpa could have a peaceful end, I sold myself. Starting that night, I did whatever Adrian said. Power is fluid. From that moment on, it flowed into Adrian's hands. Powerful people disdain to use force. He made me strip myself. My body was black and blue from the fall. My elbows and knees scraped and beating with blood. Adrian pressed down on me, saying viciously, "Weren't you happy when you threw me away back then? Why did you let yourself get like this?" I cried from the pain but smiled and said, "But you're doing great now, which proves my decision back then was right." I wanted to say sorry, but I knew saying that was useless. Adrian got angry. He made me sick. I was hospitalized for half a month before I recovered. Adrian was very dissatisfied, but his movements became much gentler, sometimes even tender. It made me wonder, does Adrian actually like me a little bit? Even a tiny bit would count. I was so stupid. I stood emptily behind Adrian, laughing at myself. I heard him say to the driver, "Don't pick him up. Wait until he walks here." The roar of engines came from the courtyard. Several guests had already left in their cars. Adrian hung up the phone. He turned to go downstairs. Halfway down the stairs, his phone rang suddenly. Adrian answered. A strange voice came from the other side. "Hello, this is City Hospital. This call is to inform you that Mr. Julian West has what?" Adrian asked, frowning. "Please don't worry. Mr. West's grandfather just woke up and said he wants to see him." The doctor on the other end said, "We couldn't get through to Mr. West's phone. We wanted to ask if you could contact him?" "Understood." Adrian let out an imperceptible sigh of relief. He said, "I'll tell him." The banquet was organized by the Vance Group for the newly opened resort. Adrian told the manager under him to stay, and he left early. "Mr. Vance, aren't we waiting for Mr. West?" The driver asked in surprise, seeing Adrian get in the car. "No." Adrian kept a straight face. "The hospital needs him for something. That's enough for today. There will be plenty of chances to punish him later." "There won't be any chances." I floated beside him, saying silently, "I've already been punished to death. Is that still not enough?" On the way back, the driver drove very slowly. Adrian didn't react. He just sat in silence, looking down at documents, until the Phantom reached the spot where I had gotten out. The driver finally said, "Strange. How come we haven't seen Mr. West along the whole road? Adrian finally looked up. Outside the window, the broken guardrail was twisted hideously. The streetlight illuminated the red paint left on it. It looked like a massive wound. Adrian's gaze paused for 2 seconds. It was blocked by a screaming ambulance. The police lights flashed, shaking in Adrian's pupils. Let's go. His voice was tight. He must have gone home on his Adrian sneered. Looks like the young master couldn't keep up the pity act and decided to rebel. The driver wanted to say something but stopped. He silently increased the speed. 10 minutes later, Adrian pushed open the door to the house, seething with anger. The housekeeper walked out of the kitchen quickly, looking panicked. Mr. Vance, you're back. Where is Mr. Julian? Didn't he come back with you? Adrian bypassed her and went straight upstairs. Julian West. He articulated every syllable, shouting, "Come out." The bedroom door was closed. Adrian pushed it open violently. Seeing no one, he slammed it shut again. He walked downstairs quickly and questioned the housekeeper. Speak. Where is he hiding? The housekeeper was stunned. Mr. Julian? He didn't come home. Adrian turned a deaf ear and roared, Julian, I don't have time to play hide and seek with you right now. If you don't come out, then don't ever show your face again. The room fell silent. I stood behind Adrian, silently recalling the scenes when Adrian used to look for me. Teenage Adrian didn't know my house had a hidden compartment. I always liked to curl up inside it, enjoying the sight of Adrian searching bitterly for me. During those 100 counts, his urgency, his annoyance, his bewilderment, it was all because of me. I was secretly delighted. I thought as long as Adrian couldn't find me every time, I could bother him forever. Until that one time, Mr. Vance, seeing Adrian about to open the cabinet door, the housekeeper suddenly cried out urgently, Don't. The cabinet door opened. Adrian leaned in slightly and saw a half-made cake inside. What is this? The housekeeper explained awkwardly. Mr. Julian made this last night. He said today is your birthday and wanted to make a birthday cake for you personally. But he wasn't very skilled, so he only finished half. He was afraid you'd see it early, so he asked me to hide it in the cabinet for him temporarily. Pure white round cake. It only had Adrian's name written on it. He hadn't had time to decorate it yet. The housekeeper brought the cake out. She said softly, Mr. Vance, Mr. Julian came downstairs in the middle of the night to make this. It's from his heart. Why don't you taste? It's already spoiled. Adrian glanced down at the cake and said coldly, Made last night and sitting out until now? Is he trying to give me food poisoning? Or maybe he actually poisoned it. I froze in place. Felt like a bucket of ice water had been dumped over my head. I thought I couldn't be any sadder. Turns out, ghosts can feel their hearts shattering too. I didn't poison it. I just wanted to give you a birthday cake. Just like when you secretly made a cake for me all those years ago. The third year Adrian was at my house. Mom and Dad suddenly got busy traveling often. They were missing even on my birthday, and their phones wouldn't connect. I was so angry. I refused to eat all day. When it passed midnight, I finally couldn't help crying. Halfway through my crying, there was a knock on the bedroom door. I opened the door and actually saw Adrian holding a simple cake. He said expressionlessly, Happy birthday. But it's past 12, I said with red eyes pitifully. It's not my birthday anymore. That day, Adrian wasn't impatient at all. He said to me, it's 11 o'clock in Southeast Asia. Europe and Africa are more than 10 hours behind us. Tears hung on my eyelashes. I looked at him blankly. What does that mean? Adrian. It means your birthday isn't over yet. I became happy and looked up to ask, Did you make this cake? No cake shop would be open this late, and besides, Adrian had no money at all. Yeah. His expression became strange. I made it in a rush. It doesn't look very good. I asked again, why did you make a cake for me? Adrian's face turned red to the tips of his ears. But he still said fiercely, who told you not to eat and keep crying? Back then I wanted to say, was I crying the whole time? Obviously, I only cried for a little bit. But looking at Adrian, I quickly forgot what I wanted to say. I had completely forgotten the look and taste of that cake. But Adrian's expression and tone that day remained clear. I had recalled it countless times imagining that one day I would also make a birthday cake by hand and present it to Adrian. But maybe a lot of things are just like that. The more you imagine it, the less likely it is to happen. Now, it was 10 minutes to midnight. Adrian's birthday was about to end. But my cake wasn't finished. No, it would never be finished. Seeing the housekeeper still holding it, Adrian said without thinking, "Throw the cake away." The housekeeper couldn't bear to. She put the cake on the island counter, bent down, and took out a large glass jar filled with coins from the cabinet. She said urgently, "Mr. Julian also prepared a gift for you. Let's wait until he comes back to discuss it." Under the sealed lid of the glass jar was a folded handwritten card. Adrian took the card but didn't open it. He just glanced at the glass jar and mocked, "Young Master Julian is so generous. I give him 50,000 a month, and he gives me pocket change as a gift." Just as he was about to open the card, Adrian's phone rang suddenly. He picked it up. A low, serious voice came from the other end. "Mr. Vance, this is the police. Do you know Julian West?" Adrian: "Yes, what's the matter?" "Police. We are very sorry to inform you that we found Mr. Julian West at the bottom of the cliff off Canyon Road. We need you to come down here." Adrian was stunned for a moment, but quickly said calmly, "Please put him on the phone." The officer evaded the request. "You'd better come here as soon as possible." He hung up. Adrian tossed the card in his hand onto the table casually. "Julian, you've really grown bold. Hiding in a place like that and using the police to make me come find you?" As he walked out quickly, he said sternly, "Fine. Don't regret this." The driver drove very fast. When we arrived, the workers were just lifting me up from the bottom of the cliff. On the thin stretcher, a white sheet hung low, covering my blood-stained body. Adrian stepped out of the car. He walked over unhurriedly. "Julian." He looked down, sneering mockingly. "Your skill at hide-and-seek has really reached the peak of perfection. Going to such great lengths to get so many people to act with you." Finally, he said impatiently, "Stop pretending. Get up." The night was deep and silent. I lay quietly on the stretcher, saying nothing. Suddenly, water drops fell on the white sheet. It was raining. The rain soaked in, revealing the blood red on my body. "Julian?" The anger on Adrian's face seemed to wash away with the rain. He called my name with hesitation. An officer came to his side. He said sorrowfully, "I'm sorry. When we found Mr. West, he had already passed away." Adrian turned his head sharply to look at him. His expression became fierce. "What kind of nonsense are you talking about? We can basically confirm it was a car accident." The officer continued, "Judging from the damage to the roadside barrier, the speeding vehicle knocked Mr. West directly off the road and down the mountain." Adrian's expression froze. He turned his neck mechanically, looking unblinkingly at the person on the stretcher. Then he slowly reached out his hand and gently lifted the white sheet. The emergency lights illuminated a circular spotlight. I lay in the center. My eyes were closed quietly. Raindrops fell on my pale face, running along my eyelashes and the corners of my eyes into my dark hair. Adrian took off his suit jacket and shielded my head. "Julian." He whispered my name, but his voice and tone were abnormal. He said very calmly, "I found you." He said, "Get up now." "Mr. Vance," the officer said, "Mr. West has really passed away." Adrian seemed not to hear. He kept staring at my eyes, stubbornly calling my name. The workers wouldn't wait any longer. They said, "Our condolences." Then they covered my face with the white sheet again. Adrian suddenly ripped it off violently. He roared, "Julian." He leaned over and gripped my shoulders, using so much force his fingertips turned white. Gritting his teeth, he said, "You better get up right now and come home with me. Or else, I'll stop your grandfather's medical payments immediately." The composure Adrian always carried was completely gone. He resorted to intimidation, threats, angry and unrealistic expectations. The officers pulled him away, telling him to calm down. Adrian watched my body being loaded into the vehicle. He broke free from them and ran forward, but he slipped and fell into the muddy water. He got up quickly, but he still couldn't catch the vehicle carrying me. Adrian stood in the rain, gasping wretchedly. He muttered to himself hoarsely, "How could it be a car accident? Impossible, impossible." "Officer," the driver fled the scene. "The surveillance on that section of the road is damaged. We can only see that before the accident. Mr. West got out of your car and walked a long way alone. May I ask, why did Mr. West get out of the car at that time?" Adrian's lips trembled. His eyes turned bloodshot. It was me. His voice was almost inaudible. I was the one who kicked him out of the car. The officer sighed. Although there isn't much traffic on this road, leaving someone halfway is always dangerous behavior. There is one more thing, the officer said. Based on fingerprint comparison, we confirmed he is connected to a major financial fraud case in the neighboring city 15 years ago. Mr. West's parents were summoned by the Public Security Bureau regarding financial fraud 15 years ago. But the very next night, they were found dead after driving into the sea. Their only son also went missing. You knew Mr. West. Did you know about this? Adrian's face was wet, his expression unusually blank. Driving into the sea. He suddenly grabbed the officer's arm and asked urgently, "What date was that?" "September 13th. Adrian murmured the date. Then he said with hollow eyes, "Impossible. That day he kicked me out of the car halfway and told me to get lost. That day their family was clearly going to live a better life? No. That day, actually, our family was going to die. 6 months before the accident, Mom and Dad's movements were already suspicious. In early September when they came home, their mental state became strange too. That day I wanted Adrian to play hide and seek with me again. I hid in the secret compartment as usual, but I accidentally overheard their conversation. Dad's voice was panicked. "What do we do, honey? There's hundreds of millions. We'll definitely die in prison." Mom cried, sobbing, "If we go to prison, what about Julian? He'll spend his whole life paying off our debt. It's better to die together. If we're dead, we won't have to be afraid." Dad scolded her in a low voice. "What nonsense are you talking about? My parents' business had suffered heavy losses before. I thought this time was the same. We would get through it eventually." But a few days later, on September 13th, Mom and Dad suddenly said we were going to a new home. They urged me and Adrian to get in the car. But when they drove, they looked dazed, and even their smiles were unnatural. "Julian, as long as our family is together, things will get better. With Adrian keeping you company, you won't be scared, right?" Mom started crying as she spoke. "Baby, don't blame Mommy. Mommy really has no other way." Adrian sensed something was wrong. He asked several questions, but they were all ignored. I sat there blankly, suddenly remembering their words from before. I guessed a terrible possibility. The car drove faster and faster toward the coast. I opened the window, letting the wind fill the car. Then I climbed to the back and opened the trunk hatch. I whispered in his ear, "Adrian, get the hell out." The car made a sharp turn. Using the inertia, I shoved Adrian over and kicked him hard out of the car. He rolled several meters on the ground, nearly getting run over by the car behind us. I watched quietly, until I could no longer see his face filled with anger and hatred. At the time, I felt that even if Adrian hated me forever, it didn't matter, because I was going to die. But later I was saved by Grandpa. Grandpa was still healthy back then. He brought me to the city and fished to pay for my school. So after Grandpa got sick, I started making money desperately, even if I had to sell myself to a person who had hated me for over a decade. Adrian should hate me. After all, I bullied him for 3 years. And then, like throwing away trash, I threw him out of a moving car. But I thought Adrian probably wouldn't hate me anymore in the future. Even though I couldn't find him before he counted to 100. In the future, no one would force him to play this boring game. Because that person who hid in secret places watching him, heart pounding with both anticipation and anxiety, was already dead. On the way to the hospital together, the officer informed Adrian about my parents in detail. Adrian remained silent the whole time, until we arrived at the hospital. He suddenly asked to be alone with me for a while. In the cold room, Adrian stood beside me again. His emotions seemed much calmer. The look in his eyes as he watched me became gentle. "So that's how it was," he said hoarsely. "Why didn't you tell me?" Adrian's voice trembled, but his tone was very soft, as if speaking any louder would scare me. "Was it because you didn't want to bring up your parents again? You must have been very scared back then, right? If only I had found you sooner." He looked down at my face. There wasn't much sorrow in his eyes. "I looked for you for so long, you know." Adrian smiled briefly. He said longingly, "If I told you that I thought about you every day for the 15 years we were apart, you'd definitely stick your nose up in the air, then chase me with sparkling eyes asking if I liked you." Then I would answer, yes. I've liked you for a long time. I stood in the corner, quietly watching Adrian, watching his upright back slump in defeat, watching tears stream down his face even though he was smiling. Is it love? If you like me, how could you agree to the marriage? How could you dump me halfway? Adrian seemed to hear me. He said, I never agreed to the marriage. Hearing you say congratulations, I thought you really wanted me to get married, so you could leave me completely. I couldn't control my anger. But how could I kick you out of the car? Adrian frowned, apologizing earnestly. I was wrong. He said, it's all my fault. Then finally, he held my hand and pressed his forehead against my cheek. He begged, wake up. Okay? Julian, don't leave me. Adrian seemed to have so much more to say. The medical staff asked him to leave repeatedly. He refused to go. They looked at him with strange expressions. Everyone said I was dead. Adrian was stubborn, unwilling to accept it. But hearing someone say, actually you shouldn't stay here, maybe he went home to look for you? Adrian immediately left in a hurry. The driver was waiting at the hospital entrance. Seeing Adrian come out, he opened the door for him and handed him something. Mr. Vance, this is Mr. West's phone. It was still raining. Adrian sat in the car, his ears filled with the muffled sound of rain hitting the roof. His fingers stiffly unlocked the phone. He found that, in the contacts, his number wasn't saved with a name. Then he saw I had edited his name for another number, and sent many messages. I sent a lot of messages to Adrian's old phone number. Adrian, I saw the news. So you're the son of the richest man, Mr. Vance. That's great. It's been 3 years, you surely changed your number long ago, right? Then I can apologize to you safely. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to bully you back then. I just liked playing with you. We probably won't see each other again, right? But if we do, don't hate me anymore. Okay? Adrian, I didn't expect to see you again. But how come you hate me even more than before? Maybe because you didn't get the texts? Okay. It's fine, I won't be mad at you. Adrian, I heard you're getting married. You should get married and have a cute baby. So I won't tell you what happened back then. You getting married is good. Really. I'm not sad at all, not even a bit. Your birthday is in 2 days. This time it's my turn to make you a cake. I have a gift for you too. It looks cheap, but don't underestimate it. Instructions included. The Phantom arrived at the villa. Clutching the phone, Adrian stumbled out of the car. He rushed into the kitchen and saw the glass jar and card he had tossed on the table earlier. His fingertips trembled. Tears fell onto the card, blurring my handwriting. Congratulations. You have obtained Julian West's wishing coins. For the 15 years we were apart, I saved one every day. Please accept them. If you need me to do anything, you can exchange a coin. I'm at your service anytime. Wish. Happy birthday. Adrian looked at it for a long time before putting the card away. He hugged the glass jar full of coins to his chest. He took one out and choked out with difficulty. First wish. I want Julian back by my side. The room was empty and silent. No one answered him. Too late. Adrian, it's already too late. Adrian's first wish failed. He lowered his lashes and took out another coin. Second wish, I want Julian back by my side. Third wish, I want Julian back by my side. All night long, Adrian used up all the wishing coins. The sun rose, but the sky was still gray. He hugged the empty glass jar, sitting blankly on the kitchen floor, motionless. When the housekeeper arrived, Adrian finally moved again. He stood up and went to rummage through the kitchen trash can. The housekeeper asked in surprise, Mr. Vance, what are you looking for? The cake. He said, where is the cake he made me? Housekeeper. I couldn't bear to throw it away, but I didn't dare put it in the fridge. It's still in the cabinet. Before she finished speaking, Adrian took the cake out of the cabinet. He grabbed a piece with his hand and started eating. The housekeeper was terrified and hurried to stop him. You can't eat that anymore, it's definitely spoiled by now, you'll get sick. Adrian seemed not to hear. He ate very earnestly. Only while he ate, he cried. Adrian finished the cake. Looking around, he only saw the astonished faces of the housekeeper and the butler. He lowered his head again and said hoarsely, why won't you come back? Julian, where are you hiding? After he spoke, a gust of wind blew into the room. The curtains fluttered. The bedroom door on the second floor, which was slightly ajar, slowly closed. Adrian hadn't been to the company for many days. He turned off his phone. He spent all day in his room counting coins. Every time he counted from 1 to 100, he would get up and search for a person in every corner of the villa. "Julian, where are you hiding?" Adrian walked slowly, whispering, "I heard your voice. Come out quickly." He lost the ability to sleep and developed severe visual and auditory hallucinations. Sometimes it was night, sometimes it was day. He could always hear Julian's voice. "I'll count to 100. Julian's eyes curved into a smile, his tone sly. "If you find me, I won't bother you ever again." Adrian wanted to grab him, saying, "Not a bother. I never thought you were a bother, not at all." Saying, "Don't leave again, don't hide." "Julian, I can't find you." "How can I find you?" But whenever this happened, Adrian couldn't say a single word. His throat felt blocked by burning coals. He couldn't even breathe. He could only watch helplessly as Julian's thin arm slipped from his palm. Even if he reached out to grab, he could only grab a handful of empty air. A few times Adrian fainted on the floor, opening his eyes. He would be surprised to see Julian right beside him. They were lying close together on the big bed in the bedroom. Julian seemed to have just taken a shower. He was wrapped in a pure white bathrobe, his hair still damp. Julian looked just like he did every night Adrian used to see him. His skin was very white, his exposed knees and elbows pale pink. He lay beside him. Because of his insecurity, he foolishly hid in the arms of the person who always hurt him. Sometimes Julian would kiss him ingratiatingly. His lips were soft, his cheeks warm and soft. His eyes were so big they seemed to reveal all his thoughts. Whenever Adrian kissed Julian back, even without using much strength, Julian would still vaguely call his name. Adrian moved very gently, watching Julian unblinkingly. He didn't even dare to breathe aloud, afraid Julian would hide again, but always catching him off guard. Julian would disappear every time. After sinking into this for several days, Adrian's father finally came to the door. He saw Adrian's distracted, emaciated, and decadent appearance, and was furious. He cursed Adrian for being emotional, cursed him for being unworthy of being his son. After cursing, he warned in a deep voice, "The date for your engagement to the Sterling family is already set for this Saturday. 3 days is enough for you to forget that unpresentable boy, right? On Saturday, you must appear at the engagement party looking radiant. Don't think you're my only son. Your brothers are all breaking their necks trying to replace you." With that, he turned and stepped aside, revealing Victoria Sterling, who had been standing behind him the whole time. Victoria still had exquisite makeup. She lifted her smiling face and walked straight into the villa. Then she turned to the bodyguard standing outside the door and said, "Go. Take all of Julian's things and throw them away." Instantly, the light in Adrian's hollow eyes flashed. "Let me see who dares touch his things." He glared at Victoria, gritting his teeth. "Get the hell out. All of you." Victoria showed a terrified expression. She said softly, "Adrian, how can you talk to me like that? You heard it too. Uncle Vance said you have to marry me. Are you still thinking about that Julian?" She blinked. Smiling, she said, "He's already dead. Such an insignificant person, without even parents. What is there to remember? If you ask me, he should have died long ago." Victoria screamed. Suddenly, Adrian grabbed her by the neck and pinned her against the wall. Bodyguards rushed up to clamp down his arms but couldn't move him an inch. "Shut up." Adrian's eyes held a bloodthirsty ruthlessness. "You are not worthy to speak his name. You aren't worthy." Adrian was eventually pulled away by the bodyguards. Victoria clutched her neck, falling to the ground gasping. A few seconds later, she suddenly laughed. "Heh, I'm not worthy?" Victoria looked up at Adrian. "Remember what I told you at the party that day? I said, you didn't pick me up, which gave me the chance to take care of a little nuisance on the road. Do you know what that little nuisance was?" Adrian froze, suddenly remembering the other thing she said. "Actually, the trouble I just took care of has something to do with you, too. Do you want to know? You guessed it, didn't you?" Victoria's face was full of excitement. Say it, say it. You hit him. It was you." Adrian's eyes instantly turned scarlet. He lunged at her madly but was pinned firmly to the ground by the bodyguards. Victoria stood up and brushed the dust off her clothes. She said, I won't admit to anything without evidence. Besides, the police have already closed the case. They determined it was an accident. She leaned down to Adrian's ear and whispered, there are too many people in this world. Some have value, some don't. Julian didn't. If he had value, how could he have been dumped halfway by you? Actually, the real murderer is you. With that, she calmly walked out the door and drove away. The bodyguards released him, but Adrian lay on the ground, not getting up for a long time. He thought, Victoria is right. Saturday. Clear skies for thousands of miles. Adrian arrived at the engagement party on time. He seemed to have pulled himself together. His face was clean and fresh, wearing a well-tailored haute couture suit. Upright and handsome as always. Everyone was smiling. Adrian's father was smiling. Victoria was smiling too. So Adrian smiled. He was decent and solemn, making Victoria the bride every woman envied. After the banquet ended, Adrian offered to drive Victoria home. People crowded the couple to the hotel entrance, lively joking that they were stuck together like glue, unwilling to part for even a moment. Adrian smiled again. Holding his fiancée's hand, he helped her into the car. But once the car started moving, Adrian stopped smiling. Holding the steering wheel, his expression became indifferent again. While driving, he muttered to himself, don't worry, Grandpa will be taken care of very well. Just wait a little longer. I'll find you very soon. My Julian. The car drove faster and faster toward the coast. Victoria finally sensed something was wrong. She cursed, she begged, but nothing worked. Adrian stepped on the gas pedal to the floor and said to her calmly, you were right, I am the murderer. But you deserve to die too, Victoria. So, it's only right that we both die. Victoria realized then that Adrian had gone mad long ago. She started smashing the window desperately, trying to jump. Finding it didn't work, she tried to escape through the trunk, only to find the trunk had been welded shut long ago. It wasn't a car. It was a coffin prepared in advance. As they plunged into the deep sea, Adrian saw that face he had been longing for again. His Julian had turned back into a child, living a new life. This time, his parents were ordinary people. They loved Julian very much. They wouldn't forget his birthday, and they would buy him the big cakes he liked. And they would play hide and seek with him every day.